But all right, I guess the story of the week in the recruiting world is Dylan Raiola, the number one overall player in the class, and obviously the number one quarterback, previously committed to Ohio State. A lot of Nebraska smoke in recent months. Visited LA last weekend and has, from our friends at 247, several of their recruiting analysts have put in a crystal ball for Dylan Raiola to USC. A lot of ways to go with this, but I don't know. Anytime the number one player in the country is about to make a decision or people think he's trending towards a school, it's news.
You know, I think I'm going to maybe make our producer Cam's job a little bit easier if he cuts a promo for this, but like, I don't know if there is a recruiting coordinator in the country that would take Arch Manning over Dylan Raiola. You know, if you stripped all the things over it from a talent standpoint, like that is that heavy?
Breaking news. Ari Wasserman, Dylan Raiola better than Arch Manning. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to turn out to look like in 4 years from when it comes.
Recruit in the history. This is the Arch. Well, you call him the most impactful.
Yeah, because of what is his name and what that recruitment meant for Texas. I don't think that he's the best quarterback recruit I've ever seen. I don't think that he's a bad one. I mean, I don't want people to sit back and be like, oh, he thinks Arch sucks. I don't think he stinks. He has a chance to, do some really good things at Texas, and it wouldn't surprise me if he won a Heisman eventually. But like when we're talking about raw talent or somebody who plays the position, you know, with the upside of it, like, I mean, we've got people comparing this kid to a young Patrick Mahomes. And, you know, I don't really get into comparisons, but like his size and athleticism, his ability as a two-sport athlete, the strength of his arm, like all the measurables that make you a 5-star prospect, you know, maybe not coming from college football or professional football royalty, but just in general, you know, I think nuts and bolts, pure talent and athleticism, I don't know that it's particularly close. So, you know, the thing that kind of stinks about this whole thing is, he's probably just going to end up at USC, and the drama of it's just going to be like, well, the next Caleb Williams is there. Like Lincoln, like to me, that's, you know, obviously the entire.
Let me butt in there. Let's say he commits to USC because his family ties to Nebraska, and he's already decommitted once, and we know how this thing plays out. I mean, obviously, if he commits to USC, I would still say he's probably going to go to USC, but I would not close the door on Nebraska, and I have no knowledge of what's going on, what he's thinking. But because of those close family ties, you know Matt Rule is going to stay on him, stay involved. So sure, he could be committed for the next 8 months, but it's not over.
I'm just mean like if he goes to USC, like to me, that's the entire blueprint for what makes USC, you know, what it is and what it's supposed to be under Lincoln Riley. And of course that would be a huge get. And Phoenix has been a pretty lucrative place for, you know, out of state recruiting for, you know, some of the Pac-12 schools. So like it makes sense geographically, but like think about if the best player in the country went to Nebraska, how much better that would be. Like for everybody who's clamoring about parity in the sport and, you know, new teams getting in the mix here. It's like, if you want Nebraska to be really good, you know, this is the really good start for a new coach. Right. And there were some parallels being made to, Scott Frost's first quarterback commit and, what's it? Adrian Martinez. Yeah. That was kind of an apt observation, I think. You know, he had but this is the number one player in the country, dude. Like,
right.
And
I mean, you wrote about your mailbag this week. Yeah. What a great opportunity this is. Like, if you're Matt Rule, in Nebraska, who recruits at a very good level, anytime we're going to talk more about that when we get to our rankings, who recruits at a top 25 level, but honestly, you don't have quote unquote access to the number one quarterback in the country much if you're Nebraska.
Well, this is the only way that it happens.
On the staff. Yeah,
this is the only way that it happens. Yeah,
right.
And so like when you have this opportunity, it's like sometimes like programs get like once in a lifetime opportunities. Like it's not like the next, like Nebraska's even going to be in the Final Five for any other player that would be the number one overall player in the country. So like when you have this sliver of opportunity, you always want to see the schools take advantage of it or you know, cash in on that opportunity. Now, if Raiola picks USC, it's like you can't blame Nebraska for that. Like if I were a 5-star quarterback, I think without without a shadow of a doubt, I'd probably pick USC. Like, honestly, if you were one, there's no better place in the country to go. I mean, the track record of what Lincoln Riley has done is just unparalleled. And the fact of the matter is it's in a really cool place to go to college. So, Nebraska is going to really have to work itself maybe even more so than just, the family ties. You want to sell, building back up a place that means so much to your family. And like, I try to put myself in that position too. It's like, if I were a athlete that everybody in the country wanted, and I had deep family ties to a place, I might be inclined to do that. But it's like this push-pull of, are you willing to go to a place that will develop you worse in order to do that for your family is a very tough decision, because there's no question. I think it's a fact that Nebraska would do a worse job developing him than Lincoln Riley would.
But it's all relative. You're still going to a great school with great tradition, and it's not like his dad is the head coach of a MAC school, and he's like, we see that in basketball a lot. In fact, Antoine Davis, the guy who just came close to beating Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record, went to go play for his dad at University of Detroit when he was going to go to Houston. Matt Rule is a very good coach. He will be, if he goes there, he will be well coached. He will be developed. Now, is it Lincoln Riley?
Mitch, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Would Nebraska do a worse job developing quarterbacks, regardless of
worse
who it
isn't
is,
the right
than USC?
word. Okay,
yeah,
worse. Okay, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's say scale of 1 to 10. Let's say you call. There's no perfect 10 in development. Let's say you say Lincoln Riley's a 9.5. I think if he goes to Nebraska, he'll be a good player. He'll be developed, quote unquote, developed and be an 8.5. Like, this goes to the whole.
So that's worse, right?
Do you recruit NFL draft picks or you develop NFL draft picks? I think you recruit them.
I think
Nebraska has a good coaching staff. He's not going to a school who pays its quarterbacks coach $35,000. These are big time coaches at a big time program.
I'm not saying that Nebraska's coaching staff is trash. I'm saying that if it is even 1 point on the Mitch Light scale worse, and it were my talent that I wanted to cultivate, I would want to go to a place that put me in the best position to win a Heisman Trophy and to be drafted in the first round. And
Anthony Richardson might be a top 5 pick, Nebraska. And it was, yeah.
You're not understanding me.
I understand. I'm not saying
that there aren't success stories at other places that aren't USC. I'm saying that if I had a decision to make going into it, that I would choose the place that would develop me the best. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't be a first-round draft pick at Nebraska.
The way you're framing it, like they would do a worse job. If he's as good as he thinks he is, he can still be the number 1 pick. He might not enjoy as much team success, but he can still be a great player.
I'm not saying that he couldn't. I'm saying that if I were in his position, I would go to the place that would do it the best.
I think
he could go to Miami of Ohio and be the number 1 overall pick. That's not the point. The point is, I would go to the place that I know would do the best job with me. And like, it's not even a discussion.
I totally understand what you're saying.
I don't even think that Nebraska. I don't think that anybody would do better than USC. It's not a Nebraska thing. It's It's not an anti-Nebraska thought. It's a positive thought to USC. So, to me, I think that in order for Nebraska to land this kid, he has to value the family ties and the familiarity more so than his own personal development. And that's not to say, again, that he wouldn't be developed. Of course he would. Anybody could be a first-round pick if they're that good. But you would have to take a little bit from what your personal trajectory is. And I think that's not a debate. That's just a fact, right? You can't go to a place that hasn't had a first-round pick at quarterback.
Because they haven't had first-round talent at quarterback.
I know, but are you saying that the only reason why Lincoln Riley is good is because think about how many 5-star prospects?
No, he's a great college quarterback. He's a great college coach, and there's no doubt about it. So we're saying the same thing over
fact that USC is better at developing quarterbacks than Nebraska, regardless of who went to Nebraska. It's an undisputable fact.
They've had better quarterbacks at USC to work with. Or Lincoln Riley. It's not a USC thing. It's a Lincoln Riley thing. True, right? I mean USC has a great quarterback tradition, but we're talking about Lincoln Riley.